Are you ready?
We are SQUAWKS Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes beyond the Walking Dead universe. I'm your host, David Cameo, and I'm joined by Yellowstone watchers, Sharon, aka Blazy Gardner, and Bridget, ko-fi.com/punkybrewster. That's PUNKYBRUISETER, and we're off to the races, everybody. We're talking about, well, this is our full breakdown. If you missed last night's breakdown, oh, looks like somebody
just in time,
just arrived in time. Is her?
Sorry, I'm going to be eating dinner at the same time, so I'll be off and muted.
Okay. Well, actually, let's start over. I'm your host, David Cameo. And we're joined by Cosmom09, Rachel Burt, Sharon, aka Blazy Gardner, and Bridget. ko-fi.com/punkybrewster. That's PUNKYBRUISETER. And I'm trying to find Rachel's thing so I can pause her upload so she just looks and sounds a lot clearer. Cool. All right. So we're doing our full breakdown of The Last of Us' 6th episode titled Kin. If you missed last night's episode, and this is mostly for you audio podcast watchers, listeners, we're not going to be including that part in the audio podcast breakdown. If you want that reaction video, it was only about a half hour long, maybe. You can head to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/SQUAWKSdead. We're trying to keep it a little bit more casual, but also letting it be more audience driven and less theorizing and looking into details and more about feelings and reactions and expressing things. So without further ado, let's continue with this episode. And to do that, I have to go back to my screen so I can see Zakira, who joined us. Says, I couldn't find you guys for a minute. Usually it's the first thing when I open up my YouTube. And Punky Brewster says, hey, T-Dog. And Takira says, hey. So I missed all your faces. We were just here last night. It's very flattering, though. It's very flattering.
It didn't
She
take
meant
her
me,
long.
just me.
She did yell. She did yell. Type. Rachel.
Yeah, there you go. Rachel.
Just me.
She did yell. She did
yell. Sorry.
Arf, arf.
I didn't like it.
Sorry.
I didn't like it.
I thought I had muted.
Well, it happens to the best of us. So to the last of us. So we're talking about this episode. And instead of going to first impressions, let's launch right into our breakdown. It's kind of hard to kind of start off. It's not our usual formula. What's your first impressions? I like this episode. Well, you know, we all like this episode, I think. Right, Rachel? So mean.
Yes, I did.
She is
I
mean.
really did like this episode. I'm sorry, I just worked 11 hours and I haven't eaten yet.
No,
today.
you shouldn't be apologizing. Well, okay, for that, that's fine. But like, I put you on the spot, knowing full well you'd be stuffing your damn
The
face.
Werther's original rappers over here.
Hey,
Crinkle, crinkle.
she's doing pretty good though. You gotta give her credit where credit is due. You know. So, oh, she does not like what she's eating now. Very visual.
Oh, Lois. Hello.
Hey, Lois, you're only a little late.
So much judgment towards Lois.
It's okay.
Rachel,
We were
whatever
late,
you're
too.
eating, do you have some mushrooms on there?
I made a stupid comment about
Mushrooms?
that today.
Ew. Gross. No. I don't eat mushrooms.
I did. The last of mushrooms. Okay, so
The last of mush.
last of mush.
Yeah,
Okay.
do you think you can cut off like part of a cordyceps face and like fry that bad boy up with a little truffle oil, you know?
You first. That's all I can say.
A little tarragon? You think it's like it's fine? Probably. It's fine. Probably.
If you cook it all the way through, it should be fine, right?
Yeah, like
I
to a
think so.
char, probably.
Probably fine.
I wouldn't chance it. Not
It
really.
is not absolutely disgusting.
No.
It's not.
Oh man, have you ever had a portobello burger? Those things are good.
They're
It's cooked
bomb.
right. If it's cooked right, they are delicious.
I will cook them for you, but I will not partake. Not after the fungal apocalypse. So, all right. So let's go into this episode. I think the big link in this episode has to do a lot with bonds and trust, and like to the title, kin. And so when we see the old couple in the shack, and then you hear, oh, what is her name? Maria's words later on, saying the only people that can betray you are the people that you actually trust. There's like a little bit of interplay to that when you see this episode, because when you meet that old couple in the beginning, there's basically like an understanding. You don't trust anybody, like to an absurd degree that we don't even get to see on the walk. Like, you do see it on The Walking Dead, obviously. Anybody you come across could be somebody hostile, but like occasionally, like, okay, John Dory comes across Morgan in season 4 of The Walking Dead, and it's like a
Fear the
casual
Walking Dead.
conversation. Wait, you were gonna say something?
I said Fear the Walking Dead.
Did I say? Oh, I meant Fear the Walking Dead season 4. Sorry,
It's okay.
my bad.
I just didn't want you to get
So
roasted
judgy.
online.
That's okay. Roast me. It means somebody's listening.
Lois says I must be feeling better since I'm talking about frying up cordyceps.
No, you were away last week because you were sick
Yeah,
the week before, and
I
now you're
was.
back.
I was. I had a fever, folks. That was bad.
Yeah, yeah. Lois. By the way, Lois is. I'm reading her comments like it was awesome. She's like, break it down already. Break it.
Get to it.
Break it down.
Get to it.
But I like the interplay here. They teach you how seriously, and like by way of many different avenues, not just the old couple, the way the Jackson, Wyoming community basically has to be to the outside world, scattering all the bodies of the people that they've buried or not buried across their land so that people don't get just stay away from here. And then you get to things like, well, when it comes to Ellie and Joel, how they're obviously have a connection. You see it more on Ellie's end predominantly throughout the series. Like, she's like, I want to get in this guy's, it's his face. Care about me, old man. Care about me. And he's like, nah, B. And then she finally, like up until now, until I rewatched this episode, I had assumed that she knew about Sarah. The truth is
no.
The truth is, I didn't, and she didn't. And it wasn't until she had seen the memorial that Tommy did for both Sarah and Kevin. Yeah, which is Maria's son, well, 3-year-old son at the time. Oh man, there's so much to talk about with that. But the most important part is that she finally understands why Joel all this time has been the way he's been with her. Because I don't think he wants, because I mean, I'm projecting a little bit maybe, or I'm assuming, but once she hears that, her tone or her attitude completely shifts. She defends him in front of Maria.
Yeah,
And
it does. And then she says, well, that makes sense.
right,
Yeah.
right.
It, like, in her mind, she processes it and it, like, clears up a lot of things for her.
Right. I think all this time she's just basically trying to wear him down because he's just a jerk. And it's like, oh, it's working. I'm wearing him down. No, you remind him of his daughter, you idiot. She doesn't know that. She's, oh, I guess wearing people down works. I'll just keep being annoying until he, minorly cares about me. No, dude, he had a daughter. Oh. But it's just also weird because this is why I assumed she had heard or whatever. Is because when Joel is talking with Henry in the last episode, he goes, you can kind of tell you had one of those, didn't you? Like that you had a daughter while they're having that little chat while
He said you may not be her dad, but you were somebody's
you were
dad.
someone's. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Good call.
So, I mean, I think that Joel did not make a habit of telling anybody about Sarah. Like, the only people that knew were maybe Tess. I don't even know if Tess knew. Tommy, for sure. But, and then, of course, now Maria knows. But I don't think Joel goes around telling anybody about Sarah. And it also makes me wonder, because he change. I think he changes a little bit when Ellie tells him, "I'm sorry about your daughter," even after he tells her, don't ever mention her again, or don't talk about her. And Ellie's like, "I'm sorry." She doesn't stop, of course, because she's Ellie, but she's like, I'm sorry." And I wonder if anybody other than Tommy had ever really said that to him, because when he lost Sarah, everything went to shit. Everybody was worried about saving their own skins, and it was the middle of the fall of society. So who was going to say anything to him other than Tommy? Everybody was losing people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder if she's like the first person other than Tommy to ever tell him, "I'm sorry about your daughter."
That's a good point. And that's really kind of making me think about like what it must have been like back then too. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Right when this whole thing started, he had to jump immediately into, well, how many months of this chaos is going to continue, of where we have to kind of go from survival situation to survival situation, and when do you
Well,
really
and they traveled. They
Yep.
traveled a lot and far, and I can only imagine how that went. You're running into raiders and thieves and all around general bad people.
well, and then also being the bad people who killed innocent people. Like we didn't know that there was another way, or we didn't, or every time we tried, we just weren't good at it. It's kind of what Tommy
Yeah.
says to him at the bar. So it's very interesting to see that. And maybe, yeah, and that makes sense too. You lose somebody you care about. What moral center do you have? What is it's kind of like on The Walking Dead. And I often refer to the scene, and it's right after Rick murders the shit out of those savior escapees from Hilltop. This is season 8, near the end, basically. And he's with Morgan at that bar. They just finished slaughtering all the savior remainders, including
I feel
Jared.
shitty, Jared.
Exactly. Yeah, and he goes, "How did you make it this long?" Or how did you? He asks Morgan. No. Morgan asks him, "How did you make it this long?" And Rick goes, "I had my son." And Morgan knows exactly what he's talking about because he went cuckoo bananas after Dwayne got bit, and he I don't even remember if he put him down. I can't remember exactly because I know he didn't put down Jenny, but I feel like he put down Dwayne. I'm not sure. Somebody will correct me on that fact.
He did not put down Dwayne.
Okay, so he didn't put down
He
either,
couldn't.
which that makes it even sadder. But the point is that you were okay. You were like good Rick-ish for as long as you could be because you had Carl around. And then when Carl died, you turned into kind of a dick. Like murder rage Rick. Dick Rick, murder rage Dick Rick. Essentially.
Tommy was wearing Rick's murder jacket in this episode.
And yet, well, it was
He was like the opposite.
wasn't like a denim, like a murder Rick meets denim, like blue denim jacket.
Canadian Rick.
Yeah, Canadian tuxedo Rick. Yeah, and they are in Canada, by the way.
There was another part that actually made me think about Carl, and it was when Joel gave Ellie the liquor, and she tasted it. She was like, "Yeah, just as gross as I remember, just as gross as last time." It made me think of Carl tasting the wine.
Wasn't that season 1?
At the CDC? Yeah.
Yuck!
Yeah.
It was like, ew.
Look at that face. He's like smiling when he said, "Yuck." Ew. Which is kind of like Ellie too. Like, especially when she gets the Diva cup, she's like, gross, with a big ass smile on her face.
Oh, I had to look that up because I was like,
I did
dude,
too.
Yeah.
there's no way this existed in 2004. It did.
It was invented in 2003.
Well, it was brought to mass production in 2003.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
It was a crowdfunding
wow.
project, by the way, if I remember right too.
I can't imagine there are a lot of those floating around. In the apocalypse.
No, I can imagine a lot of them floating around in the sea or something, like in the water.
It depends on who is going on the supply runs, because guys are not going to think to pick that kind of thing up. Just like in episode 1 or episode 2 when Ellie goes down and finds the tampons down, the guys aren't going to think to pick that up. Yeah. That's if your ladies are going on the supply runs, they're going to think about getting that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I guess so.
Or Glenn grabbing the morning after pill for Lori.
Oh, God.
Ba, 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 ba. Takira says, I can't believe she didn't find out until halfway through the season. Well, actually, more than halfway. We're like 2/3 because of 9 episodes. I feel like anybody else that may have known what happened to him could have felt like, well, we all lost someone. True. Absolutely true. Nobody really treated it like the tragedy it was.
I think had she been lost to cordyceps, I think maybe it would have made it easier. But knowing it was a human, you know what I mean? Like I feel like it would have been easier to lose her to the way that everybody was losing
Instead
people.
of a
It's
person.
out of your control.
Right.
You didn't, but this was like, in Joel's mind, this is somebody he could have stopped and he wasn't able to.
Well, across the board too. It was a
Which-
human. Well, it wasn't like like you said. It wasn't an infected that got her. It was somebody that was supposed to help him, right? Ostensibly, oh, they're supposed to protect the people, and yet that was her demise.
Yeah.
And then also brings me back to Maria too, because Maria loses someone, and of all the people that can absolutely 100% relate to Joel, or they relate to each other, it's Maria. And it's so interesting to see how, like, innately, I mean, first of all, Maria has the goods on Joel. She knows everything about Joel. Joel doesn't know everything about her, and probably still doesn't, actually. They didn't have, like, that conversation of Maria, knowing Maria's lost, too. But it's weird to see that when they're on the table, he's very polite with her, rightfully so. And I like that part of him. It's like, okay, they are feeding us. They didn't blow us away.
Well, he is from Texas,
Right.
Dave.
Might as well be polite. Right. But he does get a little ornery when he wants to talk to, because he senses that Tommy told her about him because of like, what was it? I can't remember exactly what it was, but like, things that we've done. She says something to the effect that things that we've done or things that we've had to do. And she kind of looks at Joel, but doesn't say it. She goes, Joel. And so implying the fact that, yeah, that you've done some shit that I know about. But it's weird because he gives her the stank too, intrinsically. And I think what's great about that is they kind of get it. They kind of get each other without not getting each other. Like, she knows that he's lost someone too. So she knows to reject him too, because losing someone like that is dangerous.
But she views it as you lost someone and you lost yourself and you were a horrible person.
Oh, who does that remind
and
you of?
I'm better than that because I held it together.
Could be that, but it could be like
That's the vibe I get. I felt very strongly that she did not like Joel at
100%.
all and did not want him around.
But
well, she also blamed when Ellie brought up the fact that Tommy had killed people too. It wasn't just Joel.
She's like, that's Joel's fault.
She blamed Joel, just like Joel blamed her when he was with Tommy. Oh, she's the reason you didn't call me, and she's the reason that you didn't stay in communication. So
jealousy.
It's Tommy's in between, and he's, Joel considers him part of his circle, and Maria considers him part of her circle, and Tommy's stuck in the middle, so they're on opposite sides of Tommy.
I knew that's where I recognized her. Okay, I'll go to that. I'll go to
Oh,
Lois.
you didn't realize that was who that was?
I was like,
I just saw it click.
So let me get to that in a sec, because I want to get something out before I forget it. But throughout this episode, and even beforehand, Joel, and we've said this before, Joel is consistently trying to protect someone, whether it's Tommy, whether it's Sarah, now it's Ellie, and he's always putting it on himself. It's no wonder why he's having so many panic attacks, because there are several moments where he feels helpless. And there's nothing that he can do. Now he's feeling weak. Now he feels like he can't make it. And the weight of like the importance of getting Ellie to where she needs to go, plus wanting to protect her, having lost Sarah, when he sees Tommy's okay, he's almost like resentful. It's like, why can you move on? Fuck you. But still blames himself. Like, he's always blamed himself for dragging Tommy through some like times where he's had to do some questionable things. He puts it all on him.
He said, I'm here to rescue you, but Tommy plainly didn't need rescuing, and that made him feel like even more of a useless
Dirtbag.
failure.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't need me to save you. But also, but he's always taken on the burden of the things that both he and Tommy did. He was the one that thought of it, so of course Tommy followed, right? No, Tommy has agency. Tommy has always had agency, and it's the same thing with Ellie right now. Ellie, in a way, has agency, and you see the shift, but you don't really see it fully until like near the end, where he actually gives her the choice. He could have easily done the same thing that he did with Tommy, and that's, you're coming with me no matter what, and I'm going to take care, I'm going to protect you, and you're going to do these things because I tell you to do these things because I'm the older brother, because obviously I'm right. And so he's trying to pull the same shit on Ellie. But Ellie isn't like Tommy, and Ellie isn't like Sarah either, which explains the conversation that they had at the end. Not in like an annoying, like, fuck you, I'm not your daughter way, but it's like, no, I grew up differently than your daughter. I know things that she didn't know at the time. I have skills that you taught me that you couldn't teach her at the time, which is why he returns the agency back to her the next morning. Kind of like Tommy owns the conversation that they had before where he said something stupid and he comes back and says, that wasn't right of me to do. You know, I'm an adult now. And adults see through the emotional outbursts and come back and say, I know why you said what you said or you treated me the way you did. And I know why I said what I said. And I'm coming back to tell you, I get it. That's hard for you. I know you love me. Let's work through this. And so he gives that back to Ellie at the end. Kin, how about that?
The Walking Dead has ruined me because the second they walk through those big giant gates, I'm like,
Hilltop.
don't let them in. They're gonna ruin your community.
Oh, damn. You know? Great point.
I mean, they already did their number on Kansas City, although that really didn't have anything to do with them, but still.
I mean, they sort of started a little something, but like it pales in comparison to what they were trying to do. Kill kids.
So I listened to the official Last of Us podcast today. I'm not really going to go into what they said because they're they're way more eloquent about it than I am. But I really recommend listening to their explanation of Joel's actions and Ellie's response. It's very, very enlightening. Like I said, I'm not going to go into it because I won't explain it nearly as well. But I highly recommend going and listening to that podcast because it's Craig Mazin is on it and it's really good. It's
just
really
not right now.
Right.
Hang out here with
Not
us.
right now,
Everybody,
right.
let's leave and we'll
Finish
come back
this first.
in an hour and we'll talk about the
A
Last
very-
of Us
a very-
podcast.
Interesting little tidbit. So
Bye,
the song
guys.
at the end, the song at the end of the episode is the same song that played at the end of episode 1.
Which is
I don't remember the name of it.
It's
Never Let Me Down Again
Mode.
by Depeche Mode,
Right.
which
Yep.
is an 80s song.
And the person singing it is Craig Mazin's daughter.
Jennifer Mazin. That's right.
Yep.
That's right. And it has not been released on like any sort of platform you can get it off of just yet, but they were probably waiting for this episode to come out.
He
So-
tells a funny little story about it in
Oh, okay.
the podcast. Yeah.
Cool.
So I had to watch the episode today on my lunch break on a laptop, which was not ideal. Did anyone catch the list of the 10 hottest guys in
Yes.
the bedroom? Anyone write that down?
I didn't write them
Because
all
tried it.
down.
I
I
didn't have
didn't
time
write it
to go.
down.
I literally only had as long as the episode was to watch. I couldn't
you-
spare 2 minutes to go back and look.
Do you remember any of the names, Dave?
I saw all the names. The only one that actually interested me was right at the bottom of that list.
The bottom?
Professor Smed was an asterisk at the end. Professor Professor Smed is a hottie. Smeds was a hottie. There was like a top 10, crushiest boys
Yeah.
that I like. List.
That's
Post-it
really
note.
funny. It's really funny because in Saturday Night Live last week, they had a whole sketch about students making fan cams of the teachers, and Pedro Pascal was the host, and all the fan cams were of him. It's really funny.
And the teacher that he supposedly has a crush on, but then actually it turns out that they do have a
Right.
crush.
Oh yeah, it's really funny. It's funny.
Well, let me go back to the chat if I can before it goes away from me, which we have the luxury of it not flying away from us. But Lois says something very important because I was like looking at Maria and I'm like, I know this bitch. Where is this? Where is this actor from? The actor that plays Maria. And she said, oh yeah, Maria tried to kill Michonne. Oh yeah, that's not Joyce.
Jocelyn.
Jocelyn, thank you. Jocelyn from Scars in season 9.
And
So-
what's really, I wrote down right here
Season
that
9, yep.
Maria gave me serious
Season 9.
Michonne vibes.
My bad. Oh,
Just the way she was talking, the way she was talking to Ellie, and the rhythm of her. I don't
Similar
know.
hair.
She just really gave me. And then she said that her son died when he was like 3 during the outbreak, kind of
Even
like
more so.
Michonne also.
like Andre.
But
Or I think,
she really gave me
Yeah,
Michonne
Andre.
vibes though.
right.
She was also on True Blood.
Oh, well, there you go. She looks. Well, I mean, I think she did a great job. Let me go to the other comments. Takira says then the part when Joel asked for a moment for her family, and then they said, "Well, she is family. Her annoying ass could have given the brothers a moment." No, I like that she didn't, or like that Tommy didn't, because it made a point.
It's
like, I'm
it's
a grown
actually,
man.
it's from the video game.
Oh,
That
really?
dialogue is from the video game. Yeah. Tommy, like they get to the gate and Tommy's at the gate. He's like, "You can let him in," and she's like, "What?
No.
You know them?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's my brother." So there's like this little moment, and then he's like, "Can I?" He says something about family, and she's like, "Well, considering I am family now, you're my brother-in-law." And you're like, "Oh,
What's
that's
this
how you
news
find
about,
out."
brother-in-law?
Oh.
In
So
the
yeah,
game,
that was from the game.
does she lose a son in the game too? Is that revealed, or is that just an extra thing they put in the show?
I didn't get that far.
Okay.
I didn't get that far. Yeah, I'm sorry. The hunters thing goes even further.
Than what
than
you got
I
to
thought.
last night. Okay. Or yesterday, as of yesterday.
Yeah. So
In
just
while we're
forever.
talking about the game, when they're in there eating and Ellie is having issues with the girl that's looking at her, they will not verify, but that's supposed to be Dina, who is becomes close friends with Ellie in the second game. I
Close
think.
friends.
Also,
Quotes,
that was
quotes for the
played
audio.
by she was voiced by Shannon. She was played by Shannon Woodward, who was
Oh.
Elsie Hughes on Westworld.
Yeah.
My Westworld fans.
Oh.
So Shannon Woodward voiced and acted her in The Last of Us 2.
That's cool. Oh, I wonder if we'll see her. Anyway, so
yeah, there were a lot of really like Easter eggy spoiler things in this. I am not gonna mention them.
yeah,
I'm gonna just leave it. There is something that I want to go back to. I included it in our Discord earlier, and I'm gonna skip some of those, but we'll include a link to that in the blog, and you can go look at those spoilery Easter eggs yourself.
well, if we hover around any of those areas, let's put a pin and just make a note of telling us what spoilery things, or I don't know, spoiler comparisons.
Well,
to the video
I
game.
would have to go through the list because I'm not gonna remember like
okay.
offhand. Yeah, it's just they're like just little Easter egg things.
Well,
I'm not gonna touch the spoilery ones, but
Well, let me continue on with the comments. Takira says it's not like Joel was going to change his mind about her because of marriage, but she knew what they meant to each other. Right. Eventually she let them talk. Lois says, I think Joel is jealous. It like I feel like he never fit in and really had a safe place to stay. At first, I think. And he sees where Tommy is at. Yeah, I think he almost rejects this community at first until like he lets go of this big burden that he's been carrying on behalf of everybody. And to the point where at the end, when they're about to leave, he goes, I'm counting on it, meaning there's a place for you here. And he's like, I'm counting on it. He has like and this is something that I've mentioned in almost every episode, is that like, what's the point of like the single-minded purpose when as soon as that is ripped away from you, what happens to you now? And part of the answer to that question is the panic attacks. And the other part of the answer is, well, I'm not worried as much about Joel because he's seeing a life after submitting, first of all, to accepting his bond with Ellie. And Bridget just went away.
I'm trying
There
to
she
get my
is.
camera to focus. It's just not anyway.
Don't worry about it. And also submitting to the fact that there could be something for him afterwards, to the point where he admits that he wanted to be a singer. So which is okay. Joel, okay, all right, I see you. Takira says, I think Joel did have some pangs of jealousy, but they were pushing him. The brothers deserve time alone with each other. Takira says also, I know that they got it eventually, but Joel was extra on the edge at that point. I think part of the reason him and Ellie argued as bad as they did is because of his anger towards Maria and Tommy. What do you think? I don't know that that's it. But let's talk about that scene for just a sec, because that is a very huge scene in the video games, and is a pretty big scene here, although they do reconcile the next morning, which I liked. I do like that. I can see why some people might not after the big blowout. But what do you guys think of that? What do you think of Takira's take on the fight?
I mean, I could have seen that adding to tensions being high on his side, but I mean, Joel really had thought all this through, right? It's the panic attacks that are really what's scaring him right now. Like, it's enough that he was snuck up on by two kids and she's had to save him, a couple
From
times
Brian
now.
yeah.
And yeah, there's that's enough to push him, but on top of all of that, the panic attacks are really, I think, what was doing it for Joel. I think that's why he was like, nope, I can't do this. I need Tommy to do it. He's younger. He's going to be stronger. He knows the area, which those are all valid points.
Yeah.
Those are all completely valid points. I don't think that he was in the wrong for it either.
I
For
think the reason they
pawning off Ellie
fought
to Tommy.
I think the reason Ellie was so angry was Joel didn't even discuss it with her. He treated her like cargo still. Instead of coming to her and saying, look, these are the reasons that I want you to go with Tommy, he just took it upon himself to say, you're going to go with Tommy.
Removing her agency.
And not even discuss it with her. And after all they'd been through for the past few months, and she felt he was starting to open up a little bit, and they were more than just cargo and transporter, and then he just turned around and was like, no, you're going to go with somebody else. I'm done with you. I wash my hands of you.
Well, he's definitely feeling some emotions toward her too, protective, parental, whatever have you. He's definitely feeling something for her, and if something happens to her, that's just going to be another person that he loses. And I think he's trying to distance himself from losing more people too.
Yeah.
Especially
after what he just saw happen with Sam.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Is it the panic attack, or is it the fear of losing Ellie, or failing Ellie after failing to save Sam, after failing to save Sarah? Right? So, is it any wonder why? I mean, it just makes everything worse when he gets caught by Maria's people, and he's completely and utterly helpless to save her. Completely.
And it's not like Joel has really talked up Tommy to be super confidence inspiring. Oh, Tommy's a joiner, and he just goes here and there, and he doesn't like this, so he quit it and went somewhere else, and he didn't like this, so he quit it and went somewhere else, and that's all he's talked about the whole trip. And now he's like, oh, but you're going to go with him. Bye.
That's also true.
Yeah. I didn't really think of that. But that's a really good point. Yeah. Not that he's trash talking his brother or anything, but
but he is.
Yeah, it doesn't make you feel like, yeah, Tommy's the guy.
Oh, you're gonna go with this schmo? I've been shit talking this whole time.
He didn't present any of the good reasons to Ellie. He presented the reasons to Tommy. Sure, great, Tommy. Here's the reasons, but he didn't present any of those to Ellie. So her thought is, you're just gonna dump me on this guy that you have zero confidence in, and you had to come save.
Well, it really depends on how much she overheard when they were talking, because I it's hard to tell what she caught. I mean, it seems like she caught most of it, and if that's the case, it really goes to show, and this is what I really like about this show, is that it really paints the picture of a child not fully understanding what it feels like to be a father. Let's just use Occam's razor, like a father taking care of a precious child, right? And what it means to lose that child and now have to take care of another child. And Ellie starts to really understand, she only really starts to understand that at the end of this episode.
But even still, like a child, her first thought is, I'm screwed without you.
True.
I can't do this without you. Her thought is not, oh, Joel, be okay for you. I can't do this without you, Joel. I still need you. And that's what he's been fighting against the whole episode. That's why he doesn't want her to be independent. That's why he wouldn't teach her to hunt and wouldn't teach her to do all the things and wouldn't let her do stuff.
I think that's something else, though. Something that I kind of caught in this episode, which he ends up needing to give up. He's like, I can't do this. I feel like he needs to transport Ellie from the beginning because he wants a win. For all that he's lost 20 years ago, he needs this to make what went bad 20 years ago right in his eyes. But the closer that he gets, like, it starts with the possibility of Tommy being dead when they meet the older couple in the cabin. And then it continues at the prospect of losing Ellie to these fucking people, right? He's like, I'm totally helpless. I'm going through a panic attack. The dog's about to rip her face off, probably. And then he starts to have his thing. He finds out Tommy's okay. There is that sigh of relief. But at the same time, it's like, okay, I've lost Tommy as a brother. He left me before I had a chance to save him. So that purpose is gone. And he reminded me of the failure that I had 20 years ago. And that my life stopped. So the bottom line is that, like, he's starting to realize, I want to be able to make it up to the Sarah of 20 years ago. But I just physically, it's too big for me. It's too big for me. I gotta give this up, or else it's gonna kill me. And I think it's the first time in his life that he feels like he has a life worth living, or he feels like life has some value to him. And maybe it's just the fact that he gets to see her survive, right? And have a life to be able to move on. And then they could have a relationship, maybe. I don't know. But, like, I feel like he's making up for something that he can no longer cash in. Like, he just can't do it.
I think...
Does that make sense,
telling
by
himself,
the way?
I think telling himself that he can't do it, that he's too old and he's too deaf and he's too worn out, I think that's partly he's telling himself that so he doesn't feel like a piece of shit
When he
for
can't
not
do it.
not wanting to get close to her because he's afraid of losing her. So I think, oh, there's a line. Okay, so the movie that they're watching later on is The Goodbye Girl, 1974. Richard Dreyfuss, Marsha Mason, and there's a line. You can hear it in the background later on when Tommy is getting ready to come tell Maria that he's leaving. There's a line that you hear in the background from the movie. The little girl is asking her mom, what's tactful? And her mom says, lie. So I think that is what Joel is doing. He's lying to himself and telling himself that he's too old and that she's better off without him as a way to protect himself from getting close. A way to avoid the real reason he doesn't want to do it, which he is afraid of losing her.
Or maybe just afraid of losing. Period. I mean, it could be her. It could be getting close to her. I don't know. I don't know if... I think there's a part of me that thinks that he already is in this thing, this relationship. It's like it's already happened. I'm already close to her. I'm just, like, not acknowledging it. I know we're kind of splitting hairs here. But I think it's also that, like... Well, I know that I'm getting closer. It's unavoidable. But if I get any closer, and also, if I lose her, I'm done anyway. If she dies now, I'm done. But I just can't have this on my shoulders anymore. Like, it just can't be me that didn't do it. It just can't be me that failed her this time around. So, Tommy, you fail her, please. Can you fail her, please? Fail Ellie for me, please. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but I'm saying in a weird, twisted way, it's like, I just can't be there. And to Tommy's credit, he gets it. He knows. He's like telling him, yeah, that must have been hard for you to hear me say that stupid thing that I just said, like back at the bar. He gets it. And so he's happy. He's not happy about taking Ellie either. But I think he understands that, like, my brother has never asked anything of me before. He's told me to do things before because my dumb ideas are too stupid for me to implement. So my brother's going to do them for me. So, like, yeah, of course I'm going to do this for him. Even though it sucks because I'm going to be a dad. I just told you I wanted to keep it safe. Well, let me go back to the comments for a sec. Takira says, yeah, those are 100% valid points, but Ellie is still young, and they've been together months at this point. She's not going to be comfortable in the least with anyone else. And I think that's the thing. I think she argues with him not because Joel is the 100% most capable person of taking care of her. I think she's arguing, and I think she gets in his face to remind him that A, she's not Sarah because Sarah doesn't have the skills that I do, but also B, nut up. I'm not your daughter. Stop feeling things for me and just protect me. I'm selfish. Like, stop. I'm not your daughter. Stop. Okay, now can you take care of me? That kind of weird kid logic. Like, but then Joel does it right
It makes
back.
sense, though. They've been counting on each other for this long, And as a kid, they've learned to trust each other and learn to deal with each other. So you don't want to have to start all over with somebody new.
But
especially when it's your life, when you're talking about your life, like trusting someone else with your life, both ways, not just her and Tommy, but Tommy and her. I mean,
you mean Joel and her?
Joel point.
Oh, okay.
Well,
with Tommy.
Well,
also,
no,
right,
and
right.
Yeah, I'm saying Tommy's the new person. I mean, Joel made a point to say that Ellie saved him. You know what I mean? It's not just about Joel protecting her; she's protecting Joel too.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes both ways. After building all of that up with somebody, you don't want to just start over with somebody else and be like, okay, well, can I trust this person just because he says I can? No,
Right.
Fuck that.
Right, and Maria kind of offers that warning too. Like, do you really trust Tommy? I don't know, but
She doesn't know him.
But objectively speaking, like let's talk objectively, right? Tommy is the better choice. He is younger. He is more spry. He has more endurance. I'm sure he's even stronger.
If anything, to me, it's just because he knows the area better.
Mm-hmm. Yo, okay. Okay,
that is life. That is life or death in this type of situation, especially with the weather being the way that it is. Like, if you get lost out in the cold, you're dead.
And everything is pitch white, and you can't really tell
it's like,
the markers.
Yeah, it's like knowing where you are, knowing that area is of so much value. So, in my mind, that it did make sense. Now, I'm not saying emotionally or story-wise did it make sense. No, that's why it didn't go the way that it did, that we were like talking about right now. But
well, like real world objectivity though, Tommy is the better choice. So going back to Ellie, it's not about who's the most fit person to take her. I think she places value more on maybe like what Rachel says. It's like the trust, I've got his back and he's got mine, basically.
Well, if we're to trust what both Maria said and what Joel has said about Tommy, is yes, while he might be physically more capable, is he truly the best choice? Because he's going to know what to do in a situation that goes sideways. Like, Joel's going to know. Is Tommy going to know, or is he going to look to a leader that's not there? I mean, his own wife says he's a follower.
Also, how driven is Tommy to take care of Ellie and make sure she gets where she needs to go? When he has a wife and a child, how likely is he to put himself in danger to rescue Ellie when he has...
It's going to be more about keeping himself alive.
Yeah, the family back at home.
He's making it out of a situation alive, not her.
Yeah.
I side with you. I do side with you, ultimately. But there's that little part of me that didn't expect, and I didn't even notice it the first time around when I first watched it. that the memorial was for Sarah too. Because I missed that. I must have been doing something else. And like, oh, it's Kevin and blah, 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 some other kid. I didn't even catch it when Maria said, oh, that's Sarah. Don't you know Sarah? That's Joel's kid. I missed that the first time around too.
Where were you,
I
Dave?
don't know, man. Just listen, I got it this time. But that there's something to that. That's his baby girl. I'm an uncle. I know exactly what he's talking about. I mean, I it's not a daughter, but at the same time, that they lived in the same house, or they practically lived in the same house. They both took care of her. When I saw, first of all, when I saw what Tommy had said at the bar, like my first thought was that, yeah, that's my baby girl too. I lost her too. I mean, I know it's nothing compared to what you lost. You know, like now being an uncle, I kind of get it. And when Tommy apologized for it, for the way he'd said what he said, you know, it's not fair. Your life, you know, it's my turn to. It's not. You're blaming me for living, and for you not living, and for your time having stopped for you, your watch having been broken on the day of. And so I kind of appreciated what he said, because I'm sure Tommy deep down feels terrible in some way, or like that little bit of him that's like, is it okay to move on? He does. He makes the memorial. Like, he doesn't forget what happened, but he doesn't allow it to drag him down. But at the same time, I'm sure there's a part of him that feels guilty, which is why he ultimately decides to take Ellie off his hands. He sees his brother suffering. He knew it from the start. It's almost as if, I'm not discounting anything you guys have said, because I ultimately agree with you.
But
really,
I'm about to.
100%. No, 100%.
But I completely disagree.
But there's
But you're all totally wrong.
No, you're right. You're 100% right. But there's a lot behind that pulls him in the other direction. I got to do this for him.
Well, how mature is Joel that he hasn't been able to let go of this over 20 years? I mean, I'm not discounting people who've lost children. Okay,
that's the irony, though.
But this is the apocalypse. Everybody's lost a fucking kid.
Yeah.
Everybody. Here we go, Maria, for example, who also lost a child, and she hasn't let it absolutely destroy and dominate her life.
Well, it's like alcoholism or drug addiction.
She put it into the
Your maturity level stops at the moment of addiction. Like, that's what they say about like
your development,
alcoholism. Yeah, like you stop wherever that is. Wherever that starts, that's where you stop. And so it's almost like that. Like, where he stopped is the day. Like, his whole world did stop, but it's not his actual world, right? Like, he was working and he met Tess and he was doing other things, but emotionally
He was going through the motions of having a life. He wasn't having a life.
yeah.
Right. I do like that moment.
So I felt the same way about Rick after Lori died. When we got crazy Rick, I felt the same way. It was like, Rick, you are not the only person who's lost somebody. Everybody else has gotten their shit together. What is wrong with you?
And he did still have
What
a
is
kid
wrong?
counting on him, 2 kids counting on him, and he still went cuckoo crazy pants.
And his wife sucked.
Yeah, and she totally sucked. We were all better off with her dead.
Well,
She didn't even know where your kid was.
your biting comments aside, the thing that whole situation taught me, though, was that grief hits everybody in different ways, and sometimes people are helpless or in various degrees of helplessness when that does happen.
I don't want to sound like a heartless person. I'm just saying.
No, I know.
sometimes you have to suck it up
No, but
I
that's
think it's safe
and
to
do what
say
you
that
have
men,
to do.
I think it's safe to say that men are also bigger babies about everything. So
I'm right here.
yes, I know.
I was.
You heard me.
Okay. All right. No, I
don't know.
Funnily enough, I was going to mention also how that when you take what Rick goes through with some of the things I've seen with women who have had postpartum depression, which is the irony of what you just said is kind of interesting, is that they're helpless against this thing that is taken over their lives just after what should be, and they're ashamed of this, the most miraculous and beautiful thing that's ever happened to them. Painful, yes, albeit, sure, but they did the thing, and yet they feel depressed and then ashamed. And so I get it. It's weird that like when you mix those two things together, how you're helpless against your own grief. And so I bring it down the room, class since 19, whatever. But I don't know. I chose to see it this way.
Well, while the
from
room
it.
is down,
Yeah.
while the room is already down, so I don't bring it down again later.
Well, at least nobody can blame me.
I did want to touch on the conversation between Joel and Tommy in the bar. I had said last night that I wanted to talk about it because I agreed with Joel in that moment. And like, I understand that from an outside perspective, it looks like Joel was kind of being a dick. Right? Like Tommy's like,
And he is.
Tommy's having a baby that's like exciting, right? Like, well, you guys know, like I've lost 2 babies, and I've had a lot of people in my life tell me that they're having babies, including my baby brother.
Yeah.
The anger that I have felt towards people that I love, like I'm like so over the moon happy for them, but I am so pissed that they get what I don't get to have.
Well,
And like, and I'm older, and and I I did things the right way, like not for a lot of my life, but like in this path, I did like the traditional thing, and I like got married, and like I did the right order of things, and like why am I not getting what I thought that I was supposed to get? Right? Like, so that depth of anger, that frustration, that sentence, well, we'll see. And he's like, what the hell kind of response is that? Like, I've had that response to people where I'm like, good for you. And like, I'm not happy about it. I don't want to be that person that like has that like really negative response, because like, what a dick thing to say. But like, I don't know, like, give us a second of freaking process, man. Like, you can't just be like, here's this thing, be happy for me. It's like, no, like, I'm miserable. That broke my heart. What you just told me is like just a kick to the gut. It's just,
and it's not your fault.
Well,
but
and it's
here
not,
we are.
It's not unreasonable for, okay, so Tommy hasn't seen or talked to Joel in, I'm guessing, several years.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had messages go back and forth, but they haven't seen
months
or really
at minimum.
Months.
Yeah.
Or maybe a whole year.
Because, well, Tommy's been gone for a long time.
Like almost a year.
I think more than a year. So here comes Joel, who he hasn't seen in years. Let's say a couple years, whatever. And Joel just shows up, and he's got this kid with him. And Tommy's like, well, maybe he's changed, and he's found a reason to live or whatever. So let me share this great news with him, never expecting that Joel has not.
That's a good point.
Progressed from where he was.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
That's a good point. Yeah, because seeing him take care of another kid might have been like, oh, maybe he's doing better.
He's gotten over it, and
it's hard. It's hard though, because like when you're in it, even that thought, it's like it doesn't take away the pain of what you already lost, right? Like when I got pregnant the second time and I was able to share that with people, it was almost like all of that pain that I had from the first one like wasn't even relevant anymore.
Because it's
like you should just be fine. Like the slate was wiped clean and you have another one in you now. So it's like it's not a big deal. And it's like, no, it still hurts. Like it still hurts. And there's terminology for that. It drives me insane. People refer to a baby after a miscarriage as a rainbow baby. I hate that term.
Well, what is that?
So a rainbow baby is when you successfully have a child after a miscarriage. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be like the joy after the storm, right? Mm-hmm. But that first baby isn't a storm. That's like
that's a terrible thing.
It's
to
a
say
horrible thing to say.
Well, it's
that's not
loss.
A storm. I understand that the loss is horrible, but like that was a child. That was a child who I loved with every part of my being. I loved deeper than I ever could someone I had never met. How dare you like make it that like minuscule and redundant and just boil it down to this cutesy thing so you can like, oh, like, oh, you're gonna have your rainbow baby. Like it's so disgusting. So like to that point, like I totally get Sharon. I get what you mean, right? Like because that would be a fair assumption for Joel to make.
Right. Well, I
But
wasn't using that to.
yeah,
For
no,
sure.
no. And I'm not.
Yeah, I was just.
like, like
I wasn't trying to make Joel's reaction
I'm
less.
kidding.
I'm just
No.
saying that was
just trying to start
Tommy's
shit.
point of view.
I totally get that. I totally get that. But like the pain is still there. So like anyway, needless to say, all of this is because I'm like
That pain's
very
not
much
ever-
very much Team Joel in this situation. Like fuck Tommy.
That pain doesn't ever go away. Even when you do have a child, you will always think about and remember the one that you lost.
Yeah, and I'll start with saying also that my own mother, so for those of you who don't know, I have a 10-year gap between my brother and myself, with my two sisters being like my one sister Gila, who's a year apart from me, and Adina, who's only 2 more years, so 3 years apart from me. And then there's a whole gap between her, Adina, and my younger brother Ike. Well, in that gap, my mother had 2 miscarriages, or maybe even 2 miscarriages. And she over the years she had told me about that, and it never quite goes away. Like whenever she does think about it, she thinks upon like, you know, what those 2 children could have been for her. She doesn't talk about it at all. I remember hearing it only once in the last couple of years. But yeah,
The loss of possibility. Like what would they look like?
Yeah.
How would they be?
would
You know,
they
there's
be in
just
college? Would they be married already? And like going to the episode, her watching what would have been her daughter at 34 years, caring about her own kid. I could have been a grandfather. I should have been a grandfather. I could have found. I could have found somebody else.
I was just talking about my would-be daughter last night. She'd be 18. I'd have an 18-year-old right now.
Damn it.
I know. I know.
I know why that got me
you
so
know,
hard.
you had already brought it down, so
Let's keep
we're
going.
there.
Sharon, do you have any
Bring it
regrets that you want to air out on a
Revel in the sadness.
live stream?
I never regretted not having kids.
Me
Sorry.
too.
Sorry, I'm just trying to bring it up a little bit. Sorry.
But there
no,
could have
no,
been
and
tons of bastard children I have. I'll never know.
I mean,
David, how many kids do you have running around out there?
Probably
Really?
5, I want to say. And I feel
well,
that
if Dave has 5, Joshua Jackson has 7. So
you brought the room down. You brought the room down even further. Just exploit my pain, why don't you? Like Sharon, you did yours earlier.
I just never want you to forget.
I was gonna go to something though. I was I totally get. I totally get what you were saying too, because it's like it's so much more accessible to be angry in that moment than it is to constantly feel the weight of like this shame that you shouldn't have, but you do. What's wrong with me that I couldn't, right? Because I feel you. It's so much easier to be angry than constantly full of shame, in a sense.
It's like,
whether it's shame that you acknowledge and whether it's shame that you don't acknowledge, right?
No,
Because there's tons of unacknowledged shame, I'm sure.
It is
For no reason,
And like
but
anybody who's been through this, and I know Rachel's heard this a bajillion times, I'm sure, in her life, but like you're always hearing the like, it's not your fault, like it's not your fault, don't blame yourself, and like you're always like, yeah, I know, like logically, yes, it is not my fault. If it feels like it,
did I do something wrong?
I'm telling you, it feels like I am broken and I did something wrong. And it's the same thing for Joel, right? Like he couldn't stop it. He couldn't save her. He couldn't fix the situation. And it's that same thing. And like, yeah, I'm sure he's been told, like, by Tommy even, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Like, you've got to move past it. It's like, but it's like your brain, I don't know, something about your brain and your heart, they just freeze in that moment forever. And it's like, it doesn't ever go away. I can move on. I can work through it in therapy. I talk about it constantly because talking about it makes me feel like maybe in some way I'm moving forward, right? Or if I can bring it up and other people feel better about what they've gone through, then at least it makes it worth the whole thing.
Well, you kind of made Rick, that whole thing with Rick, actually kind of valid, because everybody has their own way of processing and not moving on per se, but like dealing with the world after that level of loss.
Yeah.
The fact that Rick recovered as quickly as he did, even though it was agonizingly long for us, is kind of impressive. Now that you mention it.
Well, and
Bridget.
what I was gonna say is
But
that
real grief is complicated.
even though you're moving forward and you're getting stuff done, and I've done many things since then, and I've focused on many other things, this podcast being one of them. Like,
you're very impressive, Bridget.
You guys, if it weren't for this podcast, I don't know where I would be, because I was in a rough spot.
Bridget makes the rest of us look like shit.
Yeah,
We don't do shit.
Bridget makes us feel terrible about ourselves. She's so impressive. You know what?
We need to be more organized.
I'm so pissed off right now, Bridget.
And I'm like, okay.
And like, maybe I want to end this podcast right now. I'm so like feelings of resentment over you being superior to me in every way. Well, we should call it Squawking Bridget. Let's just call this podcast.
No, Bridget is the Leslie Knope of our group.
That's redundant.
Oh, it's true. That's fair. I feel like that's probably
It's not really good,
the
is it?
most fair analogy.
It's redundant. It's very redundant.
The Leslie Knope.
You are.
It's not better than Bridget dead.
Yes. Squawking Leslie.
I mean Leslie? Anyway, whatever.
Anyway,
not an attack, it's a
moral to this story
Yeah.
is that it's still with you. And Rachel, you're talking 18 years plus, right?
Yeah.
I know it's still with you. I'm so sorry. And I'm so sorry. And I know that doesn't
I'm not gonna
do
cry.
any.
Stop it. You shut your
I
face.
know it doesn't do anything. I know that doesn't do anything for you. So I'm sorry that my apology doesn't. I wish it could do.
Well,
Something
my point
better.
is, but my whole point with this, I'm not suggesting anybody should ever forget something like that. You're never going to
Yeah.
forget. But both of you, using you guys as an example, you have moved on and kept going with your lives and made new bonds and loved new people and not let it shut you down for 20 years. That's
We've learned
the
to
difference.
live with it. There's a difference. The term
Yeah.
moving on
Well,
makes me feel like there's something to forget or move on from, but it's something that I live with. I've learned to live with it.
Yeah, you didn't let it drag you under.
But you didn't let it
lose
stop you from living.
the things that you
No.
have.
Not at all.
Yeah, that's
Not
the
at all.
point.
It's something.
I was about to use the move on word, but
Yeah.
I didn't want to.
And I think that's like a big. Sorry. I'll apologize ahead of time. Sorry, David, but I think that's a big difference between men and women as well. Women are able to live with this kind of pain, where, in my experience,
You know what?
it sort of stunts men.
Because we do tend to deal with these things differently. When it comes to grief, when it comes to we don't get to carry a child then lose it. I mean on the other end of the scale, it's like there is a level of helplessness to our experience where I want to do something for you, but I know that I can't.
Even
I know
though there's nothing. Yeah.
that
You
I've
can't.
been there,
Yeah.
and
Helplessness.
that is triggering. But it's there's not knowing what to do, wanting to do, but knowing you can't. And then I'm the person that classically goes overboard. I'm the person that will do something that is so completely outrageous that you think is thoughtful, but is actually probably doing more harm than good. And I'm remembering so many damn clear things from my life where I did that for people who were dealing with such tremendous loss, whether it's, and I'll say it, I remember helping more than one person go to an abortion clinic, or having to deal with somebody who had a miscarriage or a stillbirth, or, I mean, now that I'm kind of thinking about it, wow, there's so many instances like that where I've had to be there for people who, in the end, like half of them, maybe 3/4 of them, not in my life anymore, but just making me think about it.
It's 1 in 4 pregnancies is the statistic, and those are just the ones that are reported. So it's actually believed that it's higher than that. So
Right.
it's very common. It's very common.
Well, at least specifically with that, yeah. But it's like anything. Like, we do tend to deal with things differently, and especially when it comes to something so specific that there's nothing you can do about. let's take a break and go to the comments for a second.
Let's
though.
just blame. Wait, let's just blame Madison.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
on Madison's fault.
See, she stole all my eggs, and it's why I'm not
She's stealing your
fertile.
eggs.
She's after all the
Just
eggs.
had that in the chamber.
Fucking Madison.
To Padre, the father. Anyway, whatever. Not the father. I think to Kira, because she's just out of scrolling range. She says he would have basically had to put himself right back to the situation, losing a little girl he was responsible for, and also knowing her blood could change things for everyone. Right, Rachel. Ellie can be brave enough to risk her life for Joel because of the bond they have and still are creating. Joel didn't even try to make it the three of them. He just tried to pawn her off. Right. I was wondering that as well as I was watching. Like, why couldn't he do it with Tommy?
Yeah.
And specifically
That's what I thought
because
too.
he just didn't want to be in any way responsible for anything that could. He's admitting weakness. This is the big thing. There's something great about Tommy and Joel in this episode, and that's Tommy really is showing how mature that he is. Like that he sees right through Joel. He takes the hits from Maria, that jerk. But because Maria is just another Joel, just whose shit happened to work out with this commune. But going back to Joel, it's like he sees through him. He says, I was out of line, blah, blah, blah. You know what? You've shouldered so much of this blame and burden and pain and loss, and you've not been able to move on. I said it. I said what I said, but I shouldn't have said it. So let me do this for you. You've done so much for me. And I love that. And I love that Joel is, in a way, self-aware enough to know this is beyond me. In this moment that I'm feeling right now, this pain is beyond me. This overwhelmingness is beyond me. And I'm helpless and I'm grasping at straws, and I see you're mature, Tommy. And at the same time, this girl needs to get the cure out so that your kid can have a better world. Fuck my pain. Your kid needs a better world to live in. So Tommy, please do the things because I can't. It's out of my depth. But let me go back to more comments. Takira says, I have a 4-year-old and I'm still not over the 3 I lost to get her. Yeah. And Walking Dead Eternal, thank you. He says, I'm assuming it's a he, but I'm so sorry. I don't know why. You're a he soul. And maybe that says a lot about me. I'm sorry for your loss, he says. Takira says, I will never be over the, right. And it's even crazier when someone that has gone through the same thing expects you to get over it because you have another one. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what happens before or after. The loss of a child changes everything about you. I've always believed that Rick's extreme grief was about the time he spent not making up with Lori that he could get back, and less about him losing his wife. Right.
I always figured that's what it was about too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The regret that he had.
Right. Which doesn't that explain in a way sometimes the little bit of the loss they have from like a miscarriage? It's kind of like the person they could have been, in a sense.
Yeah.
All that
it's,
time.
It's everything. It's all the what
some
ifs.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everything, but some. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Well, we have a question from Walking Dead Eternal. I'm off topic, but do you all think that Rick found out that Jadis set him up on 9-5? Walking Dead Eternal. Where did this come from?
I think by now. I think so.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I think he knows.
If we're gonna talk about other shows, then
I'm glad.
So we're gonna talk about Yellowstone.
No, I'm shutting this shit down right now. Where's Sam Elliott when we need him?
Well, okay. Actually, there is a Yellowstone crossover moment here that Charity and I need to talk about. Graham Greene, who was
the old couple at the beginning.
The old couple at the beginning. I do not want to be offensive. He is native.
Yeah.
Graham Greene is native. He's
half,
Oneida.
Half and half, but yeah.
He's Oneida tribe.
Right, 3/4. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't know if he's meant to be playing a native in this or if he's meant to be playing like more. I guess it would be native. They're they're in Upper America.
Because he mentioned
so
one of the reservations on the episode, which he might have intimate knowledge of. Yeah.
Anyway, so he is on Yellowstone, 1883.
He's also on a better show. He's also on a better show. I'm assuming because I haven't watched Yellowstone.
Yeah, he's on a better show called Yellowstone. I'm just kidding.
I mean, you like Yellowstone so much, but you guys really need to watch Longmire because he plays.
I love Longmire.
There you go. Done. Am I right though? It's better show.
Was also
Longmire's
he was
great.
also the
Longmire's
medicine man. He was also the medicine man in Dances with Wolves,
Oh wow, he must have been really
which
young.
is another Yellowstone connection, a la Kevin Costner.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another one. According to the map, I've got this from a podcast I watched earlier, or listened to earlier. According to the map,
Which
the
podcast?
river they crossed would have been the Yellowstone River.
Yes.
Oh,
It's just endless Yellowstone.
Yeah.
You mean,
But
you
look,
mean the
for
river
real,
of death?
Yeah.
the Styx, the river Styx, the river Styx.
The river of death.
Yeah. For the two people, that old couple, the couple at the beginning were hilarious.
mm.
I
Like
loved
Yeah.
it.
they
Oh my
they
God.
were
You made him
hilarious.
so. Yeah.
There are Firefly people.
They're Firefly people.
I love
Yeah.
the lines were
Oh my-
fantastic. I think I said this.
delivery. The
I don't think-
delivery is what got me.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was so dry, so deadpan.
They
I don't
reminded
think.
me. They reminded me of Native American Dan and Roseanne Connor.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that for them. I have to say, I don't think I said this on camera last night. I think I said
You
this
didn't.
after we cut.
Yeah.
They reminded me of the Inuit family from
Z
Z
Nation.
Nation. You know, Citizen
Oh
Z
my
marries
God,
the girl. Yeah, like that's who they
Yes.
remind me of. Is like you remember like the grandma who just doesn't say
Mhm.
anything.
No, yeah.
That's what they were.
Just
That's what it
dry the
reminded
whole
me of.
time, yeah.
They're super dry. Plus,
Yes.
I said this off camera last night too. This episode reminded me of Black Summer, season 2,
Because of all the winter. Yeah.
because of all the
Oh, yeah.
snow and all the and
It was pretty.
specifically kind of that episode where they go to that resort. I keep mentioning this one where they go to the ski resort.
It's like the most
I don't know
memorable
why.
part of the season. It's the most
such
anchoring
a good part of the season. But yeah, that for this episode really reminded me of all of that, like the silence outside and just hearing nature. That was it. You didn't hear anything else. So anyway,
I have
I'm
a
done with
question.
my
I have a question
It's
for you
very
guys.
apt. Yeah. Because we thought the
Why-
lodge was like the port in the storm as well.
Mhm.
And we thought this episode could be that. But it not near the end. But go ahead. Sorry, Sharon.
When they were approached by the people from Jackson and they had the dog with them, what is your reasoning as to why the dog did not?
Ooh.
Go, Rachel, go. You
Oh,
can do
Pick
it.
Ellie.
Yeah, you do it.
All right, Bridget.
No,
she's
no, no.
My first thought, I don't know if I'm right, but this is just where my brain went. My first thought was that he was trained to sniff cadavers, and she's still alive.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a really interesting idea.
Mhm.
I don't know if this is from the official podcast, but I did hear that Druckmann went on record saying that the dog can sniff. It's like can sniff something surface level. He cannot sniff what is in her blood.
Mhm.
So because it's like
Mhm.
healed, because the bite is healed, the dog can't smell it.
So she was
So
bleeding
it would
from
be
the cut.
similar. It would be
I
similar
think.
to a cadaver dog because he would be smelling the
Putrescine?
the necroptic
The necrotic flesh.
Yeah,
necrotic flesh.
putrescine.
Right.
That's the
And
smell.
she doesn't have any. She's alive. Yeah. Right. So
So
I mean, I was a little worried, but I was like, no, she's alive. She has no open wounds. I mean, you know,
I'm glad you weren't worried. I was actually. A
I
little
was
bit worried during that
terrified.
scene.
Yeah.
I wasn't
What do
terrified.
you What do you think about the dog versus the electronic
Oh, the device?
the electronic
So-
zapper that they use?
I'm glad you
do you
asked.
think what?
Because my theory was, okay, continuing the theme of the Bill, Dave is Bill theory, is that I think that whatever she has inside her is basically destroying whatever infection she has slowly but surely. I think she'll always have scars to remember the bite or whatever by, but I think whatever fungus she may or may not have in her is,
Bites.
well, yeah, the tube in the same in the same spot. God damn it!
How convenient.
But-
For-
the thing.
that's for
is
special
the-
effects.
Right. It's like, oh, phew, we don't have to do a leg, just one spot right here. But like, I think she'll always have a
She's
scar.
got long sleeves though on too.
Right,
so
exactly.
We don't have to reapply every single time.
Yeah, just
Not every day.
like an additional couple bumps for the second bite, whatever. So
Just throw some long sleeves, then we can skip that whole
exactly, yeah.
procedure.
Oh yeah,
So
I don't have to spend an hour on a chair for a
Danny-
little bite, but yeah, at the same time, it decreases over time, and so Sharon, like to your point, will she scan and be detected? I don't know. I doubt it now.
What is the scanning thing like? Taking a temperature? Is it poking her and drawing?
I think
blood
it's
of
taking
some
a
kind?
blood
What is it doing?
sample.
If you'll notice after I forget who they shoot, but you can see the ring left around their neck, like it actually stuck them, and like
So
it
it
shot them in the neck.
Like an
took a
insulin
small
reader.
blood- That's kind
Yeah.
of what I was picturing. But like that's a prick, and then it has to draw out so it does
I think
it
it's
all
just
in
doing
one,
it all in one.
like a little prick. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it must be detecting levels of cordyceps. I don't like trace elements of a chemical that is present in an infection. Let's say that's probably what it's. I don't know what they're using to test against, but that's the best you can do because you don't really know the science.
I need to yell this at Thomas. It's because he was outstanding in his field, Tom.
No, don't. No, you missed last week. Don't encourage him. I'm triggered from yesterday. I even mentioned. I can't even do this right now. Okay, so
There was a little callback to episode 3 with the monkeys. Because remember when they were talking about what caused the outbreak, and Ellie was like, "It's monkeys." I bet it was monkeys.
oh, that's a
And then
good
in this
callback.
episode, we have all the monkeys in the lab.
I like that.
They science themselves into monkeys. Like, in addition to that, just like, oh, they just turn themselves into monkeys and just
That's
Fuck.
what all their research did.
fuck being human. Let's be monkeys and have a monkey old time.
So this episode actually answered some questions that I had. Does cordyceps affect like dogs and horses and such? Which apparently it does not, because we have dogs and we have horses.
And
Well, we
sheep,
had a dog anyway.
and other barnyard pets.
So I guess it only
animals.
adapted to humans, which human body temperatures are slightly lower than most mammals.
That's true.
Like dogs and cats average like 104.
So you're saying
So-
just wait for it.
Wait, yeah, the animals.
We'll have cordyceps creatures, or at least
Oh,
creatures that are close to our
no.
body temperature.
This suddenly got like
Cor-
really bad
we'll have
Resident Evil
cordyceps.
movies.
I can't wait
We'll
for
have
season 2.
cordyceps.
Cordyceps. Cordyshepherds and cordyceps.
I mean,
Bah.
everybody loves contractors.
Hey, did you notice? Did you notice what Tommy was doing when they rolled in?
Contracting?
Building.
No, it's building.
He's contracting. He's contracting.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And I didn't like him. So the theory that everybody likes contractors is incorrect.
Well, you're not everybody. I liked him a lot.
My opinion matters the most. I thought we established this already.
Right, squawking Bridget. Or Bridget, or squawking. Whatever.
Bridget,
Same thing.
Bridget. Why is it my name twice?
Bridget Bridge. Hey, squawking dead. Syllables. I don't know. Anyway, it's a year since I was a little nervous. I think around the dog, but I knew the dog wouldn't sense anything with her. Why though? She wasn't sick or bleeding at the time, so there shouldn't have been anything for him to smell. Yeah, okay. I mean, it kind of goes to what Sharon was saying. Yeah, I mean, whoa. Thomas says their anal readers are more accurate. Quarter
They
doodles.
usually are.
I don't know what quarter doodles means, but I guess I'll find out. Having said it out loud. Oh, like labradoodles?
Cowdiceps.
Cowdiceps. Thomas likes himself on the show, being on the show. Tommy O'Mara.
Tommy. I could never
Wait.
call Thomas Tommy. Just
No.
feels weird.
I bet tons of kids in school called Thomas Tommy O'Mara. Hey, Tommy!
It just feels weird.
And
It's
just like
I don't
that, too.
it.
Yeah, you got to say it like that.
Hey, Tommy! Get over
I
here.
don't like it.
You son of a bitch ass down here. And stop telling those punny jokes. Nope. Lies.
Nope.
Lies, Tommy. No, I'm gonna call
You
him
weren't
Tommy.
little Tommy?
Little Tommy O'Mara. My God, I'm like, what am I right now? Dude, something is possessing me right now, and I'm sorry. I hope
don't
it's not a
know.
bullier.
Are you like from Staten Island? Like, what's happening right
Tommy.
Thomas.
Only my niece calls me Uncle Tommy because I wouldn't allow her to call me Uncle Tom.
now? Oh.
Now. So what is about
It's
the price of eggs? Anyway,
In this economy?
exactly.
In this
Oh.
egg economy.
Uh,
Oh, that you just made the joke better.
true. So at the end of the episode, if you didn't notice, Tommy gives Joel the 700, the scope that allows him to do long range rifle shots.
Why did I
Yeah,
think this
what?
was going in a really weird direction? I thought you were going to talk about the 700 Club, and I was like, what?
We could talk about that now and see if that connects to the episode. I don't know what that is. Sorry.
Do you remember what the 700 Club is?
No.
Charity?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
very well.
What is
It was
that?
weird.
It's still
It's
on.
like a televangelism talk
It's-
show, but it's
yeah.
it is over the top. I'm a Christian, and I
But I'm
think
not
it's over
that
the top.
Christian.
It's over
It
the
still
top.
comes on like local
That's like
TV
super
stations.
Christian.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Pat-
It's beyond it. It's
Pat
some other
Robertson.
thing.
Pat Robertson is the he may have just passed away, but anyway, Pat
He did,
Robertson was
yeah.
the guy that did it. Oh my God.
Well, see, it just go figure, because I did grow up around that. Like I did grow up around Sunday morning evangelist
It's your
television. but-
unrelated pop culture reference of the episode.
It's like PTL, if anybody remembers PTL.
But what is that?
It was Jim and Tammy Faye Baker.
Oh, you know how I know about that? I know about that from when James Randi uncovered their scamming of the like the miracles that he was performing. He had gotten notes ahead of their sermons describing their ailments, and he basically found out it's an earpiece from when Tammy was up in the office telling him
Yes, I've heard that. I'i've heard the audio. I've
James
heard the
Randi.
audio.
Did you ever
on
see
Johnny
the
Carson.
Movie, did you ever see the movie Leap of Faith?
No.
Did you ever see the movie Leap of Faith with Steve Martin and Deborah Winger and Liam Neeson? It's
yes,
all about
I must have seen it,
the
but
like faith healers
Wait, that
and how
does
they
sound familiar.
do their tricks and stuff. It's really good.
That
Yeah.
does sound familiar.
and you can thank James Randi for all of it, by the way.
Travis is very interested in watching video footage of his interviews and stuff, because he's such a cool guy. He was so interesting because he just wanted to disprove charlatans.
I mean,
Which,
he
like,
wanted them to be right in a sense, though, too.
Get on board with that. Well, because it was like a bunch of psychics. It was like so many people were psychics and stuff.
Dowsers, faith healers, psychics, mediums.
Oh, I was just told
Yeah.
to keep his name out my
Did you
mouth.
tell him?
So
Don't expose me. I know some of the churchgoers love that stuff.
he said, "I don't want the government to know where I'm at."
The address is.
Oh, you guys are out in Wyoming somewhere, aren't you?
Right.
Montana.
You just told everybody where you were like a moment ago.
Go look
it
for
was
her at the
Nebraska.
4-6s.
I did something to my shoulder. But yeah, no, because he was a former entertainer. He was what he calls himself not an enchanter, what do
An
they call
illusionist?
illusionist? Thank you. He's an illusionist. So he knows that playbook. He knows things that scientists won't look out for. That's his whole shtick. Like I know how
Didn't
this
he debunk Edgar Casey?
he's done
He
everybody.
debunked so many people.
Too many.
Yeah.
The JRF is still a thing. The James Randi Foundation. They're still looking for people to take away the $1 million. They've never Nobody has stepped up once to claim it. So all right.
Sorry, that was really off topic.
Well, anyways, yes, Tommy does give Joel the scope, the rifle with the scope, the 700 scope that he talked about. Oh, I can clip an infected half a mile
that's where
away.
we were.
What?
Back there again.
Well, I went to complete the sentence.
I know.
You know what the 700 club
How
is?
we got
Let me tell you.
Apparently, Thomas said it has something to do with bowling, which I had no idea. How does it even add up?
You know what? I stopped figuring it out. Oh, he is a member of the 700 Club. Not a member of the Mile High Club, though.
Don't read anymore. Don't read anymore. Don't.
Oh,
read
you mean
anymore.
I've given a lot of people the scope in quotes?
Stop.
It's not going to be in the episode, but let's just,
I don't like it.
I want to do a quick shout out to the cinematography because there were some amazingly gorgeous shots in this episode, especially of
Great B-roll.
Ellie and Joel riding the horse with the silhouette, and, in the background. Oh man, it was just gorgeous. And the white expanse, just like when they were riding, and all you could see was just white, and then the street sign.
Mm-hmm.
There was one shot, actually, if you missed it, I wouldn't blame you, but it shows them on kind of like a cliffside against the river. Way in the background, there's like a little dot where a campfire would be across the river. And it's just a really good at the evening, like kind of like at dusk. So it's kind of blue all over, but you see the campfire light. You don't see them. You barely don't even see their silhouettes, but you know that they're there. They don't even have to be there for the shot to work, but you know it's them. They're spending time with each other. When they do, going back to the 700, when they're actually doing the target practice, you see Joel smiling the whole time. He's leaning into that life. He gets it. Like, I may lose her, but it's worth it. Like, this is what living is. Living is accepting the fact that you might lose people and that it's not your fault and that this world is kind of fucked up. If the old people didn't tell you that, if Maria didn't tell you that you basically your default is don't trust anybody. And this world is going to get you, probably. Lean into that life, live, because otherwise, what is actually surviving or enduring and surviving worth? She chose him. And he chose her even before he knew he chose her. Right?
Yes.
You're still thinking about Pat Robertson? Are you thinking about what Thomas just said?
No, I'm just baffled by the fact that all I see is Tom's little photo over and over again because nobody else is commenting.
You weren't there last week. It was a stream of punny jokes.
Dad
and Rachel,
jokes.
Kudos, by the way. Like the first 5 minutes, we lost you. We lost you completely. We had to mute. It was a whole thing. But she picked up her lady boots and her lady pants, and she just got on. She was professional after that. Until that one, there was like one joke. Yeah, lady pants. And then there was one joke though that
Yeah, lady
completely
pants.
got you, and we lost you forever. I think at that point.
Oh yeah.
So I blame Tom.
Yeah, there was a point of no return.
Yeah, there was we should just end this now because we've lost her to the Tommy Seps. Tommy.
Tommy says.
Tommy. This is how I deal with it. This is when I'm like
last night.
when I'm like sussing at Thomas when I go, Tommy, stop it, Tommy. Tommy. I think by me being here, Dave's editing job is so much harder. Nah, you're fine. You actually really, really are. Yeah, see, sorry, Walking Dead Eternal. I'm lost too. That's fine.
I'm sorry.
Oh, but I did want to bring it back to Bill and Frank for a hot sec. There's a point at which, there's the movie. You see Joel in the cobbler shop. Cobbler? Yeah, that's what it's called.
Sure.
It's also a delicious
Treat that
baked
Jerry makes,
good.
right.
Yeah.
I say Tommy is truly grown. He comes back. He
Not forget
apologizes to
Squat
Joel.
Cobbler.
But that's a whole other story. That's not something you don't want. And it's
Never forget the squat cobbler.
so when Joel is just spilling his guts to Tommy. Just like the words of Bill rang out. I was never scared until I met you. I was never afraid until I met you. That's Joel telling Tommy, I was never afraid until I met her. All of this is because I met her. I couldn't help myself but caring about her. I couldn't help myself from trying to do with her what I couldn't do for Sarah. And that's why, folks, that third episode is really, really good. Because these things that Bill feels along the way, he doesn't stop it from happening. He doesn't stop it from happening. He lets it change him. And he was the better for it for 20 years. With Joel, it was the exact opposite. He kept fighting it, fighting it, fighting it. And Ellie gets it. And maybe that's how the relationship is supposed to be. He needs to be that way. Ellie needs to wear him down until the point where he fucking dies from all the manhood in him. Like trying to keep it all inside. Like, no, I'm not changed. I'm not changed. Until he finally can't hold it in and has to have a conversation with Tommy. Tommy! And then to give up the ghost. Because it's too much. It's just too much. And kudos to Joel. He admits his frailties. Which every time I watch this episode, and I've only watched it twice. I can't.
So 2 times.
Right. In the past 24 hours, we watched it twice. That makes sense. Yeah. I had a job to do the whole day. So, but like every time I think about this episode, I think to myself, like, it's only 6 episodes in. And we get this level of like character development out of Joel. But I say that because I didn't expect it. Because you feel, like I said it last night. I said, I thought he was going to be Joel, Joel, like till the day he died. Like, you're cargo, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I kind of like you. Like, I thought maybe the best we get out of him is, you're all right. And then like all of a sudden he's like admitting frailties. He's admitting vulnerabilities. He's saying, I can't do it. This is impossible for me. Please take this burden from me, Tommy. I was just so impressed because you feel like there's this like trope in television where you have to keep the audience baited on the hook. Okay, here's exactly what I'm thinking, okay? For 3 million seasons, Smallville baited the hook of...
3 million seasons.
Baited the hook of Clark and Lana. Will they, won't they? All the way through until there was almost like this self-aware moment when they... Whatever, things happen. You might want to watch the show. I still think it's a good show, but like that one aspect of it. And then like they couldn't be with each other forever because of something that happens. It's like now they won't be. So shut the fuck up. And now we're going to end the series. But then in this season, in this series, they do something that is, they make Joel not a trope. They make him human. Very, very, very human. And I did not expect that to happen only 6 episodes into a 9-episode season. And I'm just so impressed with that move of doing that. Not like, it's not even a disrespect to the audience because all shows do this. They bait the hook to get you to keep watching. But they take a chance and they change this character and they develop him to the point where it's okay to be vulnerable. And that's okay because the circumstances are going to change to where that vulnerability is going to have actual relevance to the show. And now Ellie is faced with the prospect of understanding finally what it means to lose somebody you truly care about and who truly cares about you. And I think she finally understands why Joel kept rejecting her. Like, really. You're not paying attention to me at all. Mm-hmm. You're like looking at Tommy, I mean. Tommy's saying, it aired last night.
I'm agreeing with you.
Well, I can't see Sharon because my notes are there. So, yeah. What else do we have on the thing? At least Akira's reacting. Laugh my ass off, Tom. Oh, let me go to what Walking Dead Eternal says. What do you rate the season so far?
9 out of 10 for me.
Why not 10 out of 10? What makes it not 10?
It's not Yellowstone.
That would be a 10 out of 10. Yep. Sam Elliott agrees. Well, what about you, Rach?
I don't know. That's tough to say.
How about
I feel
Bridget?
like I need to
Me?
wait till the okay.
Are you
fuck me then.
ready?
Well, no, I give you time to think about it.
Are you ready for this?
Talking or anything?
You ready for this?
Sorry. What?
I'm gonna say a 6 out
7
of
out
10.
of 10.
6 out of 10. Video games better. That's my opinion.
Okay, fair.
There's been some good moments.
We talked
Like
about
I
this
said,
last night.
Yeah, we did. This episode is, I think, one of my favorites so far. I think this was one of the better ones.
Sorry,
But yeah.
What-
Anyway,
what is
sorry,
it that's
Rachel. What do you rate it?
what is it that's
Yeah, I
so
don't know. I
hard?
forgot.
I forgot. You were supposed to be thinking while I was talking.
I was paying attention to the words coming out of your face.
Oh no, ignore that.
No,
It wasn't what anyone wanted to hear.
I was listening. Unlike when I was trying to listen to Rachel, I listened to what you said, Bridget.
Why are you ganging up on Rachel?
I'm just kidding. That's why.
Oh,
I'm hating on myself right now.
Nobody likes Rachel. It's all right.
stop.
Well, gun
Put
to
up
your
with
head,
me.
Rachel. What do you think about the series as a whole so far?
Oh, gun to your
Hey,
head.
what I was about to say before Dave so rudely interrupted me was that I actually wanted to finish. I don't think I have an opinion until the season's over. Like, I need to see how shit wraps up before I can give it an overall rating.
I like that.
Because there are things that I like. There are things maybe I'm not gonna say I don't like, but maybe feel frustrated about. But I mean,
But you'll forgive it
Nick
if you see
Offerman.
something.
Nick Offerman gives it an automatic 5 out of 10. So right there, he's half the scoreboard.
I almost coughed and burped at the same time because of that.
That's
I was
trick.
like gonna laugh, cough, and burp at the same time. Nick Offerman over next bumps it to a 5. Burp, cough, laugh. But if you had to ask me, gun to my head, I'll probably say 8 out of 10. With Longmire being the
these
10,
guns?
I'm so aggressive. Yeah,
Who's
where
got all
are these
these
guns coming
guns?
from?
Sam Elliott
700 club
does.
to your head.
Sam Elliott does.
Okay. Sorry, I just love the voice I used. Sometimes the bar eats you.
The dude abides.
Sometimes you eat the bar. Sometimes the bar eats you. Now I sound like somebody else that I'm trying to remember. Anyway,
Sound
Yeah,
like Gabby
highway
Hayes.
sometimes the bar eats you.
Sound like Gabby Hayes from the old westerns.
Guys. Tom says 9.8725 out of 10. Very specific.
9.8.
Yeah, I'm with Walking Dead Eternal. I give it an 8. And that's not a bad thing. I'm an asshole. That's really what it comes down to. I don't know Walking Dead Eternal is. I'm like,
Dave's the kind of person that it can't ever have a 10 because nothing will be perfect.
Nothing's perfect.
ever.
nothing holds a candle to Longmire.
Apparently, that's my impression of you.
Guys, you know what? You're not wrong. Actually, you're 100%. I'm very self-aware, like Joel. Like in this moment,
I'm basically Joel.
yeah. I'm basically very self-aware of my failings. That's me, 100%. And I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it, and I'll run to the 700 Club. Ooh, not gonna say that. It's
No.
I don't know what else there is to talk about. I mean, I do like the little bit of a metaphor of Joel having to re-sole his boots because his soul is running thin.
Womp, womp, womp,
The things you catch in second watch.
I'm like grossed out by it.
Nobody's perfect. No show is a 10 out of 10.
Can we talk about Goodbye Girl?
Look, yeah, let's go back to that. Sure.
Okay. Sharon D, I don't know if this was on the official podcast. I read this earlier today. Apparently, Druckmann went on record saying that the Goodbye Girl was used for this scene because the film is very much, yes, it is a love story between a man and a woman, but more so, it's a love story between a little girl and this man who could potentially be her father. And that was why they utilized that movie in that scene. So I thought that was a really nice kind of a beautiful little, you know,
Comparison.
punctuation on
that
that.
was in the official podcast. That was from
Oh.
I also
So is
recommend
there
people
some irony
watching.
there that she's watching it alone?
She's the only one on the same page. She's like, yeah, I want you to be my protector, bitch. Why are you running away from me?
I recommend that movie, but please watch the original with Richard Dreyfuss, not the remake.
Was there a remake?
Who's
Who
in the
was it with?
remake?
Was
I
it
wanna
called
say
that
Jeff
too?
Daniels. Yeah.
I
let me
haven't
look
seen
it
either
up.
one, but I've heard terrible, terrible
Daniels?
things about the remake.
I like Jeff Daniels though,
I do too.
I do too. I do too.
and he's from
Sometimes
Michigan.
he is.
He's
Sometimes
been known to
actors
make
get
some
cast in
really
horrible
bad
projects, though.
movies. So he's made some really bad.
You mean like
movies.
Dumb and Dumber and Dumb and Dumber
Oh,
too?
No,
the Urs.
It doesn't matter.
The Urs were
the
not. The
yeah.
Urs were
He
not
once
great.
he had his moment in the sun. It's fine, and his music is great, by the way. I should drop a pin in that too. If you've ever, you should listen
Okay.
to his music. It's funny and it's good too.
I'm gonna go through my little Easter eggs.
Okay, sure. Let's do that.
If you're
Sorry,
okay.
Well, look at my
Jeff
notes.
Daniels and Patricia Heaton were in the remake.
Okay.
And it was
Damn.
it was not good at all. It was
Aw.
terrible. Yeah.
Well, go ahead,
Sorry.
Bridget.
Okay. All right. So, so Joel had previously told Ellie that his brother was in Cody, Wyoming. That happened in episode 4. And they did make it close to Cody, but it was crawling with infected, is what they stated. And based on the map that was seen, they were near Yellowstone Lake.
Right.
Just so you know.
Which is what we mentioned. Yeah.
Yes. The entrance to the community of Jackson is similar to the way that it looks in the video game. They kind of carried that over. This is the part where I found the thing about why does the dog not smell the infection on Ellie. And I'm sorry, it was on the official podcast, but it was Craig Mason, not Druckmann. He said that the dog didn't smell the infection on Ellie because whatever is going on in Ellie isn't the kind of thing that a dog would smell, but maybe just a scanner would pick up. So in the blood, clearly. All right. In the video game, Jackson is over 20 families strong, and it is 300 people, including children. So roughly about the same size they judge.
It's literally what Maria says in the show.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Except for the 20 families, but yeah.
The 20 families is what's from the video game.
Right.
That is a reference. Okay. When Joel and Ellie enter Tommy's community, they ride by a place called the Tipsy Bison, which is like, it's the sign that's on the wall of the bar. So that's a location that's in the second installation of the game.
Ooh, part 2, you mean?
Mm-hmm. The Tipsy
Ooh.
Bison. So that was a reference. The jacket, not the coat, but the jacket that Maria leaves Ellie, the tricolor, it's like
Right.
magenta, white, and purple.
It's like a tracksuit jacket almost.
Yes, that is her jacket from the video game.
Okay. The one that she doesn't complain about.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Maria gave her like a lot of purple clothing.
What's wrong with purple?
Purple is a big theme. Tessa's shirt was purple. Sarah's shirt was purple. The curtains and everything in Sarah's room were purple.
Interesting.
The blouse that she was wearing previous to this was kind of purple. They talked about that in one of the podcasts I watched. Also, the horse that she meets, Shimmer, is the horse that Ellie rides in the second game.
Yep.
Yes.
So the room that Ellie is like her bedroom in this new house
It's like pink and
is
purple.
actually the set that's picked. I shouldn't say picked. It's the set that conversation happens in the video game, but it's not like her room in the video game. But they designed her room after that same.
Oh, they modeled it after the game.
They modeled it,
Okay,
yeah, after
okay.
the game.
Gotcha.
I'm not gonna say that because it's spoilery. Okay. All right. Yes, I didn't want to touch any of the spoiler stuff. So those were the
That's
Easter
it.
eggs. That's it, everybody. Yeah, that was. I didn't make it far enough in the game to see much else, but there were a lot of scenes that I could tell. I'm like, this is gonna be in the video game. Like there were just, it's kind of like there were scenes of The Walking Dead that were the same, where you like knew that they were a panel because of the way that they like hung on it for a second, or the way that they lined it up. It like looked like a panel.
I see.
There are moments in the show where I'm like, I bet, like the scene with the monkey being in the upstairs as like a red herring, like something's up there and you think it's a clicker, but it's actually a monkey. I was like, I feel like that's going to be in the video game. I don't know that for sure, but it's the suspense with the immediate, like, no, it's not anything dangerous. I just feel like it's probably is a scene cut right from the video game.
Well, the baseball bat shiv, and I'm not going to spoil, but like the way that goes down is different from the video game. I actually got to see that scene today.
It's very Rick, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
It is.
It's like rebarb through,
is.
which makes me also think that like, oh, maybe they borrowed that. Maybe The Walking Dead borrowed that from The Last of Us because it was
Maybe the game's been around for a number of years.
Yeah,
so.
longer than episode 904 is when he gets the rebar. Right. I want to say yes.
Yes.
So
dealing with it in 5.
And that was 2018, I want to say. That makes sense? Yeah. 2018. Which the game had already been out for 4 years, essentially. 5 years, I think, at that point. So, for those who know, I like that Walking Dead Eternal says, I enjoyed this episode, too. And the more I think about this episode, the more I enjoy it, too. Like I said last night, this episode gave us a lot, and a lot more than I ever thought I'd expect from the series this far in, especially from Joel. Like, admitting your failings is not something you usually get from like a male protagonist, like a stoic male protagonist. And so
really
much
surprised?
of it, too.
He doesn't do this in the video game.
Wait,
we
what'd you
need
say, Rachel?
more. I said, are you really surprised, though? I feel like at this stage in the game, like, this is exactly what should be happening. We're almost at the end. Like, we need everything now. Like,
True,
we
and
need
you
to start
usually
getting it
complain
all.
when we don't get there fast enough, right? You're like, oh, come on already.
Why do you think I didn't rate this season? That's part of the reason I didn't rate the season yet.
Right. So, but based on this episode, I think you're feeling this. You're like, it's okay. We're going somewhere. I like that we're going somewhere.
This was a heavy episode. I enjoyed it. Yes.
Yeah. So.
Lots to process.
Yeah. So
like it.
Our reaction episode last night, we were I said I feel like we're careening towards the end here, like, and we're already. But what I can honestly say is like what I did see in the teaser for the next episode is that we go back. Did you hear what I just said?
We need to go
Repeat
back.
what I just said. Repeat what I just said. We're going back before
We gotta go back.
before the events of episode 1.
We gotta go back. Sorry.
I know. I got
My
the
Lost.
reference. The Lost. Yeah. I love that show. It's fun all the way through, even the end.
Ew.
Ooh.
Hush, hush, hush.
Hey,
So-
you know what else about Lost? You want to know what else about Lost?
What about what I was about to... Anyway, whatever. I'm done.
Now you know how it
It's fine.
feels.
Sawyer's
All
on
the time.
Yellowstone.
Yeah, Sawyer's on Yellowstone. Can we just
Is he
cover
really?
Yellowstone? I really love
Yeah.
it. I
know.
just
Let me
want to
turn
talk
off
about it always.
Bridget's mic right now.
No! Yellowstone!
Guys, today on Squawking Yellowstone, on Yellow Squawk. Ooh,
Exactly,
That sounds like a
Yellow Squawk.
venereal disease. Yellow Squawk.
Ew, that does sound really gross.
Yeah.
Yellow squawk.
Although
I
probably
need some ointment for my
be
yellow
more of a
squawk.
penis-y thing, wouldn't it? He's got the yellow squawks. A man that doesn't know how to take care of his pee-pee
Oh my God.
is not a real man. I'm Sam Elliott.
He has to say his name, otherwise no one knows what the hell you're talking
Squawking,
about.
squawking stone.
Howdy, partner.
Squawking Stone?
Squawking
Squawking
stone sounds
Stone,
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so yes. Well, let me read some things here because Takira says, I feel good about the 8 I gave The Last of Us. Thomas says, the newsroom is amazing. Oh, with Jeff Daniels.
Jeff Daniel.
Welcome to Joe's. I love this episode. Tom Summers says, talk more about Tom. Tommy, you mean? Walking Dead Eternal says, speaking of Walking Dead, I didn't even see the comic books. Me neither. Yeah, I love that I didn't because I got to break it down on its merits.
Now that
Tom
it's
Summers-
got
done,
good
though, you
stuff,
should
though.
go
It
back
is,
and
I'm
read 'em.
sure.
Read them. Read them.
When all of it's
Fine.
over, I'll just go back and be like, that's wrong. Thomas says, my least favorite episodes, but it had lots of Tommy in it. What? Takira
There's
says,
so
I
much
only,
Tommy.
I only have the compendiums, but I don't want to mess them up, so I haven't read them. Yeah, Takira's me.
What?
So sad.
Takira's
That's so
me.
sad. As a kid who had severe
them up.
anxiety
Mess
about
'em up.
placing stickers on things or using erasers, please, for the love of God, read your books. Like, don't
What? How you
waste
gonna
your
mess 'em
things
up?
like I did.
Yeah,
Don't.
it's a book. You're supposed to read it, Takira.
It's meant to be read. It's meant to be loved.
Oh my God, they're so anxious
I have
about
the-
you not
I have
doing
the com-
something.
I have the compendiums and I have the volumes and I have over half the comic books.
But say
Yeah,
you
me
haven't
too.
read them.
Many
Say it.
ways to read them. I've read all of them, every single one.
I don't touch the single issues. They stay in them.
They stay in their
bags.
plastic. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I should correct myself. I have not cracked open a.
You
No,
must have
I
one
have
or
read
two.
some of them. I have read some of them, but for the most part, the single issues stay in their plastic.
They're
But I've read all the
important.
volumes and I've read the compendiums. Yeah. I mean, it's all the same thing.
Yeah,
It-
it
it's
is.
it's just
Yeah.
bigger versions.
Just in
of all
graphic
the same
novel
thing.
version. Yeah.
Yeah.
Restream.io says we received 100 messages today with Restream chat. And also, Takira's laughing my ass off. Okay, so I don't really have too much left at all. Like it's all like nitpicks. Like I like that Ellie mentions what her dream was in that's being an astronaut, Sally Ride. That whole thing. Right before Joel eventually goes to sleep and he's not supposed to. He says dream about sheep on the moon. And that was like a little hint that I'm like, oh, he's warming up to her. And I like it. And then later on, it's like, I couldn't help myself
And
from
turns
home.
into an asshole about it.
Yeah, to himself. Shut up, Thomas. How long will we be on? Yeah, okay, we're just about 2 hours, Thomas. Chill. Keep it in your pants. You got
Yellow squawk.
Yellow squawk in your pants. Sorry, that's definitely not Sam Elliott.
Yellow squawk.
You got the yellow squawk. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Tommy used to work on the dock.
No, don't. Thomas is gonna do the whole song now. You jerk. How do you not? Why? And then Rachel's gonna go the whoa 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 whoa.
I don't need to.
I know, because it's in my head.
I never know how to respond when a grown man beatboxes in front of me.
Well, I hope you never run into Bismarcky then. I couldn't even attempt it. Silas can beatbox. I cannot.
I used to beatbox. Now my
That's
lips
it,
aren't
that's
as
like it.
big anymore.
That's my beatboxing skills.
Dream
Did
of
he
sheep.
just refer to himself as a bat shiv?
I gotta.
Well, either way, he has a bat shiv he could show you.
I
Also, yellow squawk. That
Thomas,
has yellow squawk.
Are you referring to your yellow squawk?
Anyway, all right. Let's keep this train moving at the end. But yeah, I like where this series is going. We are going to be jumping back to before the events of episode 1, like not the 2003, but like right when we catch up to 2023. Apparently, a lot of the teaser shows what happens between Ellie and who we find out is Riley, and that's the girl she went to the mall
The
with.
mall.
Right. Predominantly, it seems like, hopefully, maybe, which then allows us to maybe have a little bit more context about what is happening right now at the end of this episode. So I don't like that we are in suspended animation after Joel gets the shiv, but I do think,
Classic storytelling.
right. But I do like that it might even give us bigger context into what basically Ellie rejecting the idea of like it shouldn't be anybody but Joel, and it might give us more context into why it has to be Joel after all this time too, and I kind of like that. Maybe Tom. Walking to Turtle says, "I knew Ellie had a friend named Riley." Right there, you go. Yeah, and I haven't played the games, but I know enough. It's like I'm right in the middle, where Bridget is and where Sharon D might be. But
It's not gonna be the Riley I want.
I don't need to know that. All right, so let's call it an evening. If anybody else doesn't have anything else to say, we can do the
No,
things
let's adjourn and y'all go use the bathroom.
in a bit.
The wrath room.
The
I'll
use the bathroom. I get so angry on the toilet.
It could also be called the wrath room.
I mean, depending on your situation, especially if you have yellow squawk. With that, everybody, if you like what you heard, angrily head over to ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead. 5 stars and eggplant is all we need to know that you love us. There's a lot of yellow if there's 5 stars. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like.
Fucking hella purple.
Right, and the eggplant looks like it's shooting 5. But remember to tell us after every episode at ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead. And if you really like what you've heard,
Oh, maybe.
do yourself a favor and do us a favor. You should think about following us at either ko-fi.com/squawkingdead or patreon.com/squawkingdead. You don't have to buy us a coffee at Ko-fi, and you don't have to join a membership tier at either for as little as $1 a month. We don't care about that. We just think it would be a good idea to follow us on either site so that you know what we're doing in the background. You know if we have any cool behind-the-scenes stuff that's brewing. But if you do decide to buy us a coffee, you'll get 30 days of supporter-backed content at Ko-fi. And if you join a membership tier on either Patreon or Ko-fi, you will have access to our Discord, our unedited episode recordings, which we aren't doing now because we're doing live streams, and a whole host of other cool features depending on the tier level you join. The highest which means that you could join us here on screen, helping us break down these episodes live, in this case. As well as if you're in the mid tier, you can get, just like the high tier, you can get 50% off in the merch store. We do have merch. And what is it? Oh, Jackbox streams, which we have been neglecting. Hopefully we can pick those up maybe this week, maybe not, depending, because I'm going to be going away at the end of the week, hopefully. So, but you can be on camera and Mike joining us playing these cool ass Jackbox games and having fun times and making fun of the show and Yellow Squawk and all the things that we bring to these episodes into Jackbox games further, because we like to beat a dead horse. Mostly me. But speaking of me,
That's next episode.
That's
Right.
Sherry's job.
one can only hope there are horses on Padre. And with that, everybody, I'm your host, David Cameo, and I was joined by Cosmom09, Rachel Burnt. She's here. And Sharon D. A.K. Blazy Gardner. And of course,
She's every fucking where.
Bridget. ko-fi.com
Bridget.
/Punky Brewster. That's Punky Bruiseter. Take care, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you for being here. Walking to Eternal, Thomas, Takira, Tommy, and also
And Lois.
Lois, who was here earlier.
Lois.
Also, Lioness UK. That's
Maxine.
Max. That's right, Max.
Max.
Thank you.
Max.
It's trying, like, it's an M word. It's an M. I'm like a medium now. Her name begins with an M, right? She's telling you, great job, guys.
Debunked.
Debunked. Oh, no. I didn't win the $1 million from the JRF. Anyway, have a good night, everybody. We'll see you real soon. And the 7th episode of the series. And they actually, by the way, they announced the rest of the title names, at least for the rest of the series. And the last one is Look for the Light. Because the first one is when you're lost in the darkness. And
When
so
you're
they
lost in
didn't
the darkness.
they didn't mess it up. They ended off with this whole thing. Anyway, fuck the Fireflies. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
We love you.
She's here. She's there. She's every fucking where. Rachel. Rachel.